Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sharits, and happy Monday. Happy drizzly. I'm not going to call it rain. It's not quite rain yet. I'm hoping we get some this year, but happy Monday to everybody. Especially so the kids are back in school if not today, they'll be back in school tomorrow. Everybody's winter vacation is over, and here we go back into the sort of grind of things. And, a lot of people look at Mondays with this big, like, oh my God, I got this week in front of me, and Mondays can be a little dreadful. One of the things that I like to do every week here is offer everybody the opportunity to take a different look at it, have a different perspective. Let's take a moment and get grateful for Monday with all the opportunities that are standing in front of us, all the opportunities to figure out solutions to the so-called problems that we have right now, and even bigger than that, all the opportunities we're going to have to help other people as we go through this beautiful week. This is The Way Out. We are an intensive outpatient program. We provide substance use disorder treatment for adolescents, adults, and their family members, located on the corner of Plum Canyon and Bouquet Canyon. If you or a loved one is having problems, please remember that reaching out for help is the very first step, and call us at 296-4444. You can also visit our website at thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. And again, happy New Year. I'm real excited about today's show. We have in studio with us today Sherry Barkey, who is a registered dietitian, eating disorder specialist, sports nutrition and wellness expert. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Bob. I'm really grateful to be here today.
Yeah, so I think I reached out to you last week, or a little more than last week, and I said, hey, New Year's is upon us. And a lot of people are, I think we do this every year. We, not everybody, but some of us, we set ourselves up for disappointment with New Year's resolutions, right?
Absolutely.
And we want to eat better. We want to exercise more. We want to spend less. We want to spend more time with our families. We want to cut back on the things that are harmful, and we're going to make a resolution to do so. And then, I went to a church service last night, and the pastor was on stage, and he goes, "Show of hands, how many people have already broken their New Year's resolution?" And about 50 people raised their hands, and he's like, "Good for you." Or something, like, it's inevitable. Every year we're going to do that. The reason I asked you to come on the show is because you're an expert in diet and wellness, and you've been doing this for how long?
20 years.
20 years, a long time to be helping people get on track with their diets and their exercise and all of their stuff. What do you think of New Year's resolutions when it comes to dieting?
Well, first I have to say that diet is a 4-letter word.
Okay, it is.
And so I really don't like diets. And I use a non-diet approach in my practice and in my teachings. And the reason for that is, you hear so many people are on their New Year's diets. They want to lose weight and they do these crazy restrictive things. But the fact of the matter is that 85% of people that lose weight on a diet will regain that weight.
Because it's because it's,
well,
you're starving your body of nutrition or something?
There's a lot of negative effects of restrictive eating. There's a lot of physiological negative effects. Your metabolism, your brain chemistry, and your hormones that affect appetite and metabolism change in a negative way when you do very restrictive, extreme dieting. In addition, there's a lot of research that shows that dietary restraint, which is deprivation, psychologically depriving yourself of food, increases the risk for binge eating.
Right.
And I think that's what I see so much is people are always dieting, but what they're not talking about is the times that they're going off their diet and they're binge eating out of control. The other thing that diet does, it really distorts people's relationships with food. You see people are either on or off their diet. It's very black or white. They're either being good or they're being bad. They're either eating clean or they're cheating. And when we have that all or nothing mindset, here's what happens, Bob. So we go to a party or we're somewhere where there's all this forbidden food that's totally not on our diet. It's, no, we can't cheat. No, we can't be bad. And we try to resist. But what happens when we tell ourselves we can't have something? we want it more. The urge goes up. The value of that food goes up. And we fight and we resist and we try, but when we finally give in and we have even one bite, let's say it's chocolate. Well, I've already blown
That's right.
I've already blown my diet.
Yep.
Now I had that one piece. I might as well go to In-N-Out and have a double and then go have pizza later and then have everything else that I'm not allowed, because starting tomorrow, I'm going to start my diet
get
again
back on
and
it
never
again.
allow
Yeah.
myself to have those foods. So deprivation is real, and it increases the drive to eat more, and that persists for months even after the diet stops. So
As you're talking about it, physiologically speaking, what happens inside the brain with food and drugs and other things is there's a chemical process that goes on. The way that you're describing that, going to a party, is very reminiscent of people that I run into with drug and alcohol issues that don't have any sort of support or plan or program, and they go to these parties and everybody else is seeming to have a great time eating and drinking whatever the heck they want, and I'm just white knuckling it over here going. And as you were talking about all these wonderful foods and I can't have any of
Right.
them, I'm like, what? Why go to the party?
well, and see,
God,
that's
what a
the
horrible
other
time,
problem
right?
about dieting is when we restrict our life when we go on diets. You restrict your social opportunities. You restrict your opportunity to have pleasure.
Doesn't sound like much fun.
No,
Jeez.
and it triggers more anxiety and guilt and shame. So it actually hurts your mental health. And, so when I talk to people about going to parties, and I guess the good example is like my belief about holiday weight gain. I have a theory that the reason that most people gain weight over the holidays is because they're anticipating the deprivation of January 1st. And that
So
New
they're
Year's.
stocking up for the winter.
Absolutely.
We're like squirrels putting away
Absolutely,
nuts.
because
right?
if you know something is off limits or you're not
Yeah.
going to have it, you're going to double, triple, quadruple up on it. So if you go into the party saying, I'm not going to eat any of that, you're setting yourself up for deprivation-driven binge eating on it. As opposed to if you went in saying, okay, what are the foods that are really special at this party that I really want to enjoy? And make a plan to have one portion of that really delicious food and envision yourself eating it mindfully without guilt. Then it's just a food and it's just, you're done with one portion,
Right.
So dieting does that kind of harm. It actually studies when you look at kids, teens, or adults who go on extreme diets, it predicts that they'll be fatter 5 years from now.
Okay.
So it increases the risk of obesity. In addition, 35% of people who start on a normal, innocent diet will progress into pathological disordered eating. 35%.
Yeah,
In
that's a
fact,
big number.
women who diet are 18 times at risk for a clinical eating disorder like anorexia or bulimia. I can't tell you how many teens innocently are trying to be healthier, but they're following their parents' example of going on these crazy diets, and they progress into really severe eating disorder. So for all those reasons, it increases your risk of gaining more weight in the long run. It increases your risk of developing a disordered relationship with food or having a severe eating disorder, and it restricts your life and creates more anxiety.
I went to, when I was in school for addiction. I had a professor, and I don't know if he made this, coined this term, or if he just used it a lot, but he used to call them lifestyle disorders. Mm-hmm. And the reason I bring that up is because I think in what I do with working with people with drug addiction and what you do trying to get people on track with their eating and their health, that it really requires an entire lifestyle change.
Yeah.
As you were talking, it's sort of, I've met several people over the year. One of the things, I don't know if it's a phenomenon or otherwise, but it certainly has caught my attention, is that there are a lot of people who have had surgeries, like weight loss surgeries, that sort of overnight turn into alcoholics for many different reasons. Like, I can't tell you how many women have come through, and some men too, but how many women have come through that are alcoholic and they've been diagnosed as such and are in our program. And as we're doing their assessment, they'll say, I had this surgery, enough to raise a red flag, right? And I've watched them over the years, and what happens is, I've seen many people who, even with those, and I'm not a doctor, I can't state to any of the medical efficacy of those types of surgeries. But what I've watched is I've watched several people who have had those types of surgeries not change their lifestyle. And in a matter of a few years, they're right back where they started, even with those extreme measures.
Yeah, and that's really sad. There needs to be a better job of screening for eating disorders and disordered eating or mental illness before allowing somebody to have a surgery like that.
Right.
Because you're not fixing the eating disorder with a surgery.
Right. Yeah. And that's on your, so why don't, you've talked about why diets don't work. So what do we do?
What do we do instead?
I mean, what the heck
Yay,
do we do?
okay.
What do I do?
So I wanted to talk about, there's kind of 4 things that I like to focus on. The first,
pay attention,
yes,
folks.
okay, so
especially you New Year's resolution folks, right? It's like, pay attention to this, because this is really sound advice and suggestion that'll get you where you want to be.
Yeah. So the first step is I really focus on listening to your body. Before I even get into what to eat, I really want to explore the why do we eat. And so listening to our body is so wise. It knows from the time we're born, it knows exactly how much we need to eat to fuel our body and to fuel our life if we listen to our hunger and satiety cues. And the problem is that many people are eating for reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with physical hunger. So can you think of some reasons why you see people eat even though they're not physically hungry at all?
Boredom.
A huge one. Boredom.
I got nothing to do. Let me just chow, right?
Yeah. And so think of some other ones. Can you think of some other reasons?
Well, certainly emotional. There's a lot of emotional cues, right? Anxieties, depressions, things like that.
And, we learned that from a very early age. I look at just my own experiences. I have 2 children, and I remember the first time that my daughter went to get her hair cut. And, being a toddler and having somebody put a cape around your neck and then come at you with scissors, she's crying, right? And what does the hairdresser do? Offers her a sucker.
Yeah.
It's like, really? No. I said,
she
doesn't, right, with getting a shot. I said, she doesn't need a sucker. She needs a hug.
Right.
So we have to really look as parents, we start setting people up for using food for all sorts of reasons that have nothing to do with physical hunger.
I'm thinking of all the times that I've said, you know what, if we can do this, then we'll go for ice cream afterwards.
Right, using food as a reward. Right? So it's no wonder as adults, after a hard day at work and the kids get put to bed, I deserve to eat this. I haven't had a hard day.
Same thing that we teach them with drugs.
Exactly.
Hard work work week. Let's have a beer or something afterwards, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So, and sometimes we just eat because it's there. Food is just there. People are offering it and it's just there. And so just becoming aware, and I use the word halt, HALT, to stop before you put anything in your mouth. Halt. H, am I physically hungry right now? Is that what's making the desire for food so high? Is it, am I physically hungry? If it's not hunger, then is it A, I'm feeling anxious? Is it L, I'm feeling lonely? Sometimes we try to fill up the void, a social connection void with food. Or T, tired. Sometimes we're just so exhausted and not giving ourselves enough self-care with sleep that we're just trying to eat to keep ourselves going. And so just stopping and really listening to your body. In addition to that is we need to stop. There's some people that go the other way and they don't eat even though their body is screaming for food. Right. Dieting is a good example of that. Like if they're on some program that says, oh, you're only allowed this many points or this many calories or this many macros or whatever it is, it's telling you don't trust your body's wisdom. If it says that you're still, if your body says you're still hungry, but you're all done with your calories for the day, you're not allowed to eat. How horrible is that? That's interrupting. It's creating disconnected eating or disconnection with your body's wisdom. So we need to really honor our body and eat when it is truly hungry. Many times it's not a diet that keeps us from eating. It's that we're so busy. I don't have time. You're rushing from thing to thing.
Yeah, or you don't realize that. That's been my pattern over the years. Like I'll eat a breakfast going out the door, but all of a sudden it's 2:00 in the afternoon and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm punchy.
Right. So either I find that some people tend to eat when they're not hungry, or there's other people that tend to not eat even when they probably are, but they just have gotten used to ignoring their body's needs. So it's really important important to, and as you're listening to your body, is I do believe in kind of having an eating schedule. We do that with our kids. There's breakfast time, there's a morning snack, there's lunch time, there's an afternoon snack, there's dinner time. And as a parent, we would never just not provide those opportunities to eat. So we need to role model that, and we need to do that. We need to parent ourselves in that way, making a plan to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And most of us need some scheduled snacks in between. So listening to your body is kind of getting connected to it, having a plan to eat, not diet,
Right.
and really paying attention to, why am I wanting to eat right now? Do I need this physically, or is there something else I'm emotionally hungry for right now? Right?
Am I just bored? Am I anxious?
Yes.
Am I?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
And then part of that is kind of really eating mindfully. So when you do eat, is slowing down. I go through this whole thing of asking people how many people actually sit down for 3 meals a day and eat slowly, because it takes 10
Pay attention to what you're eating.
It takes 10 to 20 minutes for your brain to get the message from your stomach that you're full. So we have to eat slowly. We need to be sitting down we need plates and utensils, and actually take the time to eat. That really helps us connect with our body's hunger and fullness signals and prevents overeating. So that's my first thing, is listening to your body.
Right.
It's not a diet. It's just listening to your
pay
body.
attention. Pay attention.
The second thing that I try to simplify nutrition in the way that I teach a kindergartner about how to eat is I have my balance principle. So in general, at your meals, you want to balance your meals with the 3 main food groups. So any guesses what those 3 main food groups are?
Well, vegetables for sure.
So vegetables and or fruits, absolutely. And the second one is a protein-rich food.
Okay.
And the third one is a grain or starchy food, your carbohydrate-rich food. So ideally, I think the problem carbs aren't bad. Okay, gosh, I could spend a whole hour on all the misconceptions about carbs, but that's usually what people are giving up, or saying, like, can't have bread or I can't have pasta. But those foods and carbs don't make people fat. It's the portion that they're eating and what we're used to eating. So what people are not eating is enough vegetables and fruits, which are low calorie density. And our bellies want to feel full. We want to eat a big volume of food. Our eyes want a big plate. Our mouth wants a big plate. Our stomach wants to get a belly full. So having vegetables and fruits included at your meals with your pasta or your bread or your starch.
Very important.
So you don't need as much of those. And then always a protein-rich food, which helps trigger satiety. So it's not an all or nothing thing. So even when I'm talking to somebody with diabetes, they are alarmed when I say, you mean I can still have cookies and sweets? It's not off limits? And no, it's not. It's learning how to balance it out. So sweets, like desserts, like if I'm having a birthday party and there's birthday cake and I want that birthday cake, well, birthday cake it's a grain, it's a starch, it's white flour. It's not the most nutrient dense starch, but it's a carbohydrate rich food nonetheless. So how I would balance that out at my meal is with maybe a big chicken salad, or something, salmon and steamed vegetables, so it's how you build the overall meal. And if it's balanced,
just like in life.
Yeah, right? There's no good or
balanced.
bad food. It's just how you balance and create the overall meal. And similarly with snacks, it's that, like, try to balance your snacks with including a protein. Try to do 2 food groups, a carb plus a protein, because the protein helps you stay full. So you're not just always snacking on carb type snacks, that you're balancing it out with some protein rich snacks like nuts or hard-boiled egg or string cheese or Greek yogurt, things like that.
It's interesting as people get, I think, take the time and get in touch with their bodies and what they're putting into it and what that feels like afterwards, like how that works. Is I'm brand new in that journey myself right now. I've been hiking for years, but I'm a runner recently in this last year, and I'm noticing what I put in, how I feel 20 minutes later or an hour later if I'm in the middle of some sort of exercise, and getting and achieving that balance right there.
Well, and this is
optimum time.
Going back, and we're both, avid runners, both of us. And as a sports dietitian, carbohydrates are really important fuels for our muscle and for our endurance. And so here's what I see happening when people cut out the starch or the grain to their meal and they're just eating their lean protein and their vegetables because they think that's eating clean, is that they get really hungry, and then they end up going off their diet by snacking a lot because they didn't get satisfied at the meal, right? So you don't want to do that. You set yourself up for failure if you plan to be so restrictive and at the meals that you're overly hungry and then more prone to overeating later. So the other part of the balance principle, so balanced meals with those three main food groups and balanced snacks, is balanced nutrition with pleasure. It's really okay to sometimes just eat because it tastes good.
Got it.
You know,
Yeah,
it's not supposed to, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person or you're immoral or you're cheating. And I've got my little air quotes going on. I hate that when people say, oh, I'm cheating, or Sherry, don't look at what I'm eating. I'm being bad. I do not judge people. I eat, I call them fun foods. And I encourage you to use that language with kids so that they don't develop that idea that they're shameful or bad people if they indulge in pleasure. It's okay to take pleasure in food. So my rule of thumb, it's like, okay, well, 90% of the time in a day, if you're eating nutrient-packed foods, 10% can just be for fun, for that little bit of added sugar or just whatever, just because it tastes good. And I use the analogy with like a grade, 90% and above is an A. The university is looking at your GPA, don't care if it's a 98% or a 91%, they just see it's an A. And it's the same thing with our eating. It doesn't need to be perfect.
Yeah.
You haven't failed. You haven't been immoral. You're not cheating if you have one fun food a day.
That's when that's that 35% that can get into that disordered eating is getting so hung up on it.
Exactly.
So 1 and 2, and we'll come back. You have a couple of more really helpful tips that we can follow. This is Bob Sharits with The Way Out Recovery. We'll be back right after this commercial break.
Santa Clarita Philharmonic has begun its season of free concerts. The SCP is a non-profit community-based volunteer symphony orchestra comprised of local musicians from throughout the Santa Clarita Valley who are dedicated to providing quality classical music for the residents of the Santa Clarita Valley. Like the Santa Clarita Philharmonic on Facebook or visit santaclaritaphilharmonic.org for more information.
I went to Six Flags on Tuesday, rode 21 rides.
No way! I rode Goliath over and over on Wednesday.
Man, weekdays at Six Flags, you can really ride your butt off.
Is that hashtag RYBO?
Yeah, I bet I can ride more than you on Friday.
You're on.
Now you can ride your butt off at Six Flags every single day of the year. Save up to $25 at sixflags.com. Go big. Go 365. Go Six Flags.
The Santa Clarita Artists Association has a new gallery in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Main and Railroad, right across from the Canyon Theater Guild. The gallery features our members' paintings, sculptures, and one-of-a-kind handcrafted gift items. Whether you're an art lover, buyer, or an artist wishing to join, visit our website at santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming events and exhibits, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
Your hometown station, KHTS. We fought so hard, now we gotta get back what we lost.
Welcome back to the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sharits, and I'm in studio today, if you're just joining us, with Sherry Barkey, registered dietitian. And before we went on the break, Sherry, we were, New Year's resolutions, dieting, oh my gosh, I got to change everything. We sort of set ourselves up, I think a lot of us, we set ourselves up to really not only fail at those resolutions, but to do more damage than good, If what I'm understanding you saying is that when we are restricting our diets, or when we're only eating certain foods, or when we're not looking at the balance and the reasons that we're eating and the paying attention to our own bodies, what we do is we go through these sort of cycles where we go, I'm not going to eat any of that, and oh my gosh, and then, okay, give in and just sort of scarf myself, and I go all over the place. And what I heard you say is that a high percentage of those that go on these diets end up not only gaining the weight back, but they end up heavier than they were before. If that's my goal of dieting, right, is to lose the weight. And so number one in your suggestion was pay attention to your body, right?
Listening to your body's hunger.
See what's going on. Why am I eating?
Right.
You know, am I even hungry, or am I bored, or whatever's going on? And then the second suggestion that you've had is balance.
Right.
Balance.
Right. No good or bad foods, but just balancing your plate, balancing your snacks, and balancing nutrition with pleasure.
Pay attention to it. Pay attention to your food. Pay attention to what you're eating and what you're doing, and achieve that balance in your life. Don't go crazy one way or the other. Right.
Yeah. So number 3, and this gets into physical activity and being active. When people that go to gyms, they know that January is notorious for everyone's jumping in the gyms.
They're full right now.
And
The gyms are full.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the reason that people are oftentimes joining the gym is to lose weight.
Right.
And so I really encourage you to be active, not for weight loss or body change, but because it feels good, and to focus on all of the other benefits of being more active. Now, you might ask why I say this. The reality is that exercise does not do much for weight loss.
Right.
And let me break it down for you, because the numbers are pretty staggering. So 1 pound of body fat. Do you know how many calories it costs to burn 1 pound of body fat, Bob?
Tell me.
3,500. Now, if we
For
do
a pound?
for 1 pound.
Wow.
Okay. Now,
That's a lot. That's hiking Mount Whitney.
okay. So here's the thing. So when let's say, if you've probably seen on treadmills or elliptical machines, they have a number that they say how many calories you've burned during that workout.
Yeah, even on my little running app.
Okay.
And,
So here's what these numbers don't include is that, okay, so in theory, if a person runs or walks a mile, he or she burns on average about 100 calories. Now, that's a real rough, because depending on a person's size and their fitness level, they burn more or less. But let's just say 100 calories per mile. Actually, half of those calories would have been burnt just sitting on the treadmill or elliptical machine due to the body's resting metabolic rate.
Got it.
All right,
We're burning 50 calories anyway.
Exactly. So in reality, you burn 50 calories per mile. So using the math that 3,500 calories is in a pound, you would have to run 5 miles 4 times a week for 3.5 weeks to lose 1 pound of body fat. I'll say that again. 5 miles 4 times a week for 3.5 weeks to lose 1 pound. If you're going into that gym thinking that you're going to just miraculously shed 20 pounds in 2 weeks because that's what the ads promise, you're going to get discouraged, and people will give up if they don't see quote unquote results in
and
their
that number
weight.
that you're talking about is also you're talking about assuming that this is like a median healthy. Like, I'm not eating anything that's adding pounds to me, and I'm not restricting to lose pounds on purpose. Just right there.
Exactly.
Right? 4 times a week, 5 miles
That's
for
a lot of activity. It's a lot of
per
activity.
pound. Yeah.
So people tend to get discouraged and give up, and that's why the gyms are cleared out by March.
And isn't there an added factor of as I'm gaining muscle by exercising, that's adding weight,
right? I mean, yeah. And so I for a lot of my chronic dieters, I encourage you to stop using the scale as your indicator of success. In fact, I cringed this morning. I won't say which gym I belong to, but I saw the group of women being measured by their trainer at the start of a No Doubt challenge.
Yeah.
And in fact, if I'm aiming for fitness, weight and body fatness are really poor indicators of how fit a person are. You know how you really measure fitness? Well, I'd have somebody see how many push-ups they could do.
I was going to say by how much you can do.
That would tell me about their muscular endurance and strength.
Right.
I would see if they ran up and down some stairs, how fast their heart rate would go back down to resting. That's a sign of cardiorespiratory endurance. And I would see what their flexibility is. So those are what trainers and health professionals and all people should be looking at as their baseline, and then looking for improvements in those areas of fitness.
And I think a lot of, not to say that there aren't a lot of professionals like yourself that are looking at those indicators.
There are, yes.
That are going to do, somebody comes to you So you have a little side note. So you have a private practice,
do,
right?
yes.
Do you have a website and a
Yes.
phone number?
So it's Sherry Barkey, SheriBarkerd.com.
Okay.
That's my website. My phone number is 661-886-2720.
Okay.
So oftentimes when people have been those yo-yo dieters and they've put everything into, they've lost and regained weight so many times, is instead of focusing on weight loss, really focusing on health and fitness. Because if you start working out, you're going to start feeling great. Let's say you don't weigh, because people will get discouraged if they don't see the number going down, and then they give up, right? Not everybody. There's a very detailed assessment that I would do with an individual to determine whether weighing is helpful or hurtful to them. And in many cases, it's hurtful. So I'll confiscate their scale and we'll use this other approach of focusing on health. So if the person just focuses on how they're getting stronger, how their energy is so much better, how they're sleeping more soundly, how they're not getting sick as much, how they're feeling more confident and strong, they're going to stay motivated to be active for life. And like you and I were talking about before we went on the air, in the long run, if you keep up with the activity, your body will change.
Yeah.
But we've made it the goal. The intent of the activity wasn't weight and body focused. It was enjoyment focused, and then the body follows that.
Your body's going to get to where it needs to be to continue doing the activity that you're doing, right?
Exactly. So
it will find its own balance.
It's a health-based approach instead of a weight.
Wouldn't it be neat?
Approach.
Wouldn't it be neat to be? And I think a lot of people do see this, but wouldn't it be neat for our listeners to understand this? That finding what healthy eating looks like for you is the goal.
Yes.
That making a commitment to get out and do some sort of physical activity is the goal.
Yeah.
Not the weight loss, because when you do that, like I belong to, I'm a charity runner for a group called SOAR, Students Often Running. They're local, right? And they take all these kids and all of them are training for the LA Marathon. But here's the running the LA Marathon's a big, big deal. But to get 30 or 40 kids to commit to coming out to a certain spot 3 times a week and running miles, the commitment itself, not the results, not any of that stuff, but being able to commit to that and do that, after a couple of weeks, these kids start to go, oh my God, like this is cool. I can follow through on something. I can commit to, and that's a big deal.
Right. So it's setting, like a behavior goal. The behavior goal is that I will consistently go work out 3 to 5 days a week, and it not be tied to a number on the scale.
Got it. Yeah.
That's the real emphasis. The other thing with the activity piece, that it's when people attach exercise to food in the negative way. And what I mean by that is there's all these contingencies, like if I cheat on my diet, I have to work out even more.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Or, if I don't work out today, I can't eat as much. It's
like bargaining for.
Well, it's actually encouraging in our culture. It's encouraging a form of bulimia, that, if I eat something that makes me feel guilty or shameful, I need to do something to purge it, and exercise is not supposed to be punishment. If you set people up to viewing exercise as something I have to do to punish myself for what I ate, that nobody wants to do something for a lifetime if it's punishment.
Yeah, got it.
You want to.
People won't do it for a lifetime.
They'll develop exercise resistance, and I work with people that have developed that because there's such negative connotations. Exercise is deprivation and diet, as opposed to seeing activity.
It gets away from that balance. It's all or nothing again.
Activity. It's going to feel good. I don't care about what you ate or didn't eat. That doesn't change what your intent for activity and movement today. And finding things that feel good to your body. Don't do the thing that you think you should because it burns the most calories. Do the things that give you enjoyment.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of our clientele about, and part of our program is outdoor activity.
Yeah.
We do drumming, we do hiking, things like that. And when I get them in and I say, look, we would like you to implement some sort of outdoor activity. As soon as they hear the word exercise, like people automatically go to,
gym and
they have
hardcore.
this idea, and I'm like, no, just take your dog for a walk around the block.
Yeah, and
just
so
get outside.
I really try to use that word, like movement.
Right.
It's play. It's like we all need play, and it's how I view being in nature. And one of the things I like about being outside is instead of in an indoor environment where there's mirrors and it's very body focused,
Right.
you're judging your body while you're working out, as opposed to just feeling and living and enjoying your body and the movement that you're engaging in, right? So yeah, be active because it feels good, not because you're trying to lose weight or something.
Yeah,
That's my third goal.
So, and that's just let's look at things through a different lens.
Yeah.
You're already, so if you're sitting listening and you're going, oh my God, my goal is to lose weight and that's why I do it, and I feel like I give up that goal, then I'm not going to have the motivation to go to the gym, right? Try to look at it from a different
all
perspective.
the non-weight benefits of being active consistently. Your mental health, your sleep, your energy.
The weight will come automatic.
It'll come, but that's not the focus, right?
Right.
So the final thing, we talked about listening to your body, following the balance principle, being active because it feels good. The final one is really nurturing your body on the inside, your whole person. And that the reason that I say that is a lot of times we're sold on the idea that if I could just get a six pack, or if I could just lose 10 pounds, or if I could just get bigger muscles, then I'll be happy. And then everything will be fine and everything in my life will be in control and I'll be successful. Because those are the lies that the media and advertising send us,
we
right?
set ourselves up for that, right?
Right.
I'm looking for an outside entity to fix me
to fix the inside.
Yeah.
And so we really, then it's never enough. And again, that's kind of how disordered eating can progress, because it's never enough, right? Because it was never about the outer parts being wrong. It was about the inner hurts inside. So we really need to focus on nurturing our inner selves. And
I love that it all goes, maybe not all, but I love that it goes back there.
Yeah.
Because I think the answer to all the so-called problems of the world there is it's an inside job.
It
It's a spiritually focused, if you will. It's like learning about me inside of me.
Yeah. So one of the biggest areas I know for me and my personal journey, is the area that I've struggled the most with in terms of self-care is prioritizing sleep.
Okay.
In that I was always working or needing to do things for the kids, and I did prioritize my workouts and I prioritized meal planning. That came easier for me. But the sleep piece, what was harder, and when we don't nurture our body and our minds with adequate sleep, here's the thing, it does negatively affect your weight and your appetite. Your appetite hormones are higher. You're more likely to overeat. You're more insulin resistant. Your blood sugars are higher. And then not to mention all the other negative effects. So setting goals with regards to, I will get 1 more hour of sleep a night. Or another goal is setting boundaries in your life. Some of the disordered relationships that I see with food have to do with people not having boundaries, either not being able to say no, so they're eating and never being able to eat enough is kind of a metaphor for never being able to do enough. People that restrict are like restricting relationships, or being, too distancing and not getting relationships formed. So setting healthy boundaries in your life, so you don't take on too much, learning to say no, if something's not okay or doesn't feel okay, using your voice and speaking up and being assertive. These are skills that will enable you to feel fulfilled and be happy on the inside, right?
Well, and I want to encourage everyone, it sounds like if I'm out there listening and I am aware that I have issues like that in my life, like I'm not taking care of myself and I can't set boundaries, I want to encourage these are not always things that we can do by ourselves.
Yeah.
Please ask for help.
Yeah.
There are a lot of competent therapists out there. It sounds like you have a really strong, balanced services that you offer as well that takes in consideration with the whole person. So if I go to Sherry and I'm looking at my nutrition, we're also going to be talking about my healthy boundaries in my life.
Absolutely. So people after meeting with me, they're like, this isn't what I expected with a dietitian.
Right.
It's like I call myself
like you're going to tell me how to lose weight,
right? Or I'm going to walk out with a meal plan or calorie. And
Yeah.
so I'm more of a nutrition therapist. Certainly I'm not a psychotherapist, and I have a very strong network of psychotherapists that I work with and refer to. But there's a lot of interaction between how we feel and how we eat. eat, and how our eating affects how we feel. So it is a holistic approach, and I do a pretty thorough life assessment and self-care assessment, because when we're not taking care of ourselves on the inside, it affects our body image, it affects how we're eating, our relationship with food, it affects all those areas. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and everything, everything kind of goes back to that balance.
Yeah.
That that you're talking about in number 2, right? Is that so I'm paying attention to myself. I'm achieving balance in my life. I am doing some sort of activity, and then I'm making sure that I'm okay.
And I'm nurturing my inner needs, and I know we were talking, both of us natures. The other area that I had struggled with is prioritizing time for me.
Balancing that.
Balancing that
Yeah.
and having like a social life as a busy working mom. It was really hard to have that me time. And so I schedule once a month those therapeutic hikes in nature with women friends that I can that fill me up, and so I'm less likely to abuse food or any other substance if I'm filling myself up on the inside.
And you're building, one of the benefits of being regularly active is you build community around that.
Right,
The hiking community, the running community.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the gym
community,
community,
absolutely.
that there's a lot of social interaction that we can benefit from, not just during that, but like I'm getting phone numbers and I got people I can call because they're out there for the same reasons.
And there's this is a whole kind of another topic, but who we surround ourselves with, there's a lot of research to how that dictates our behaviors too. So if you have a community of people that have a healthy non-diet approach, a healthy relationship with food and their body, you will too. If you surround yourself with people who are active, you will too. If you surround yourself with have a balanced approach with food, you will too. So if you're surrounding yourself with people that are engrossed in the diet culture, you're probably feeling anxiety about what you're eating and scrutinized about what you're eating and developing body image issues. So having conversations with the people in our lives that, maybe it's best if we don't talk about calories and fat grams and carb grams while we're eating together. Let's just talk about life and enjoying the time together, right? So that's important too.
Yeah, well, it's funny, who we surround ourselves with is who we become. And if I'm in a community that feels, or if I have people that are really trying to help me maybe lose weight or something, but it feels obsessive or it feels like anxiety ridden, take a step back and let's reassess that, that's not a new concept to us. I have that conversation multiple times a week with the teenagers that I work with. Who you surround yourself with is who you become. And you can't change your life if you're still right in the middle of that stuff there, right? And what I have found, and probably you have as well, is that if I'm living a healthy life and if I'm doing all those things, people that desire that come to me.
Right, will attract
They
that.
want to be part of that community.
Yeah.
They're like, I have people that go, all I've seen is like your pictures on Instagram or something, but now I want to go hike this place.
Right.
Now I want to go check this out. And people come up and go, keep posting those pictures because it's really encouraging me. I had a lady stop me the other day that I know I hardly ever have a conversation with her, ran into her at some kind of meeting, and she comes up and says, thank you for being so public about the changes in your life because it's encouraged me to make changes. I go,
fantastic.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
right?
fantastic.
Isn't that cool? Because when we're doing the right thing and when we are living healthy, that is attractive. Mm-hmm. And all that other stuff, if it feels weird and funky and obsessive and if it feels like trying to be healthy then let's reevaluate that.
And it's funny when you're saying that, I was thinking, what's attractive? It is not attractive when you're constantly talking about calories and how fat you are. And, it's like a turnoff. It's like, is there anything else that you talk about? Or, or if you're feeling anxious and irritable because you're so hungry all the time, so yeah.
All right, so this is the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'll be back in a minute. We will, those of you that are listening, we'll give out some information because I think it's really important that you touch base with Sherry or someone else and get on track with what realistic resolutions, if you will, look like. Yeah. I'm Bob Sharits. We'll be right back.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top-quality musicals and plays. Located in Old Town Newhall, the CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go to canyontheater.org.
Have you ever been in the middle of cooking on your barbecue and ran out of propane? It can be so frustrating. Don't ever run out of propane again. Call Plumbing by Kirk to set up your free estimate to find out if your barbecue can be retrofitted to hook up to natural gas. Plumbing by Kirk can assess your situation for options to hook up your natural gas line so that you'll never run out of gas in the middle of cooking again. Give us a call, 263-6519, 263-6519, or go online at plumbingbyKirk.com.
My dad is the best plumber ever. Call Plumbing by Kirk.
KHTS Breaking News.
Deputies have successfully placed the suspect who allegedly stabbed a deputy Monday morning in the parking lot of the Canyon Country Jack in the Box into custody. Suspect is being transported with injuries from a canine. Officials said they plan to charge the suspect with attempted murder on a police officer. Officials stated that the deputy who had been stabbed was in good condition and will survive. The deputy was attacked unprovoked, was wearing soft clothing or civilian clothes, and was stabbed one time, and the suspect then ran off. For full details on this story, go to hometownstation.com or on Facebook at facebook.com/KHTS Radio.
KHTS. We fall so hard. Now we gotta get back what we lost.
Now what I did.
Welcome back to the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sharits, and what an outstanding, if you're just joining us and you are disappointed that you missed this awesome show with Sherry Barkey, registered dietitian, you can always go to KHTS Facebook page and find this video. You can go out to the Way Out Recovery SCV and find this on Facebook and watch it later on. We encourage you to do that. There have been so many helpful tips to get us away from, I don't even want to call them resolutions anymore, to get us to, anything that points us in the right direction to make some positive changes in our life, I'm all for that,
Yeah.
And this is health and wellness, nutrition, in a world, Sherry, where we, I've got Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, all that stuff, and I've seen, all the videos, right, and all the different shows, and you hear all the news and all the different stuff. And I think what I said to you earlier isn't it kind of sad or disappointing that we live in a world where just eating right is so confusing.
Yeah, and I find that especially in sports nutrition. I'm a board certified specialist in sports dietetics, and it doesn't need to be so scientifically, the grams of this and that. It gets confusing, and people get overwhelmed. Yeah. And I do like to simplify things for people.
Yeah, I think out of all of those, I grab a hold of the ones you and I were talking about this before. The ones that say just eat food.
Michael Pollan.
Right?
We've talked about him. Eat real food.
It's like
not too much, mostly plants.
It's not the don't pay attention to what's on the front of the package, because there are big marketing that will sell you whatever. Read your ingredients if you're going to buy something that's packaged already. But I would encourage you, at our house, we try to eat as few things that come out of a box or a package as possible.
Right, more things closer to the earth.
Yeah, rices and pastas and certain sauces, and then vegetables and fruits that go along with it. You have to shop a little more. Right. I have to shop more often, but it's cool, know?
And that goes back to the balance principle too, is you have to balance nutrition with convenience sometimes. And so we have a lot of packaged processed foods that are time saving, and there's many nutritious choices out there now. So most of the time we want to, shop the perimeter, and all those whole foods are at the perimeter, right? But then strategically go through the aisles for those few processed foods that help make our life more convenient and time saving.
So over at your private practice, if I was to call you up and make an appointment at what number again?
661-886-2720, or you can just visit my website. All my new client paperwork is there, and my office address and phone number are there too. It's sherrybarkeyrd.com.
So it's SHERIBARKERD.com. And again, the phone number?
661-886-2720.
So what do you guys, if I make an appointment over there, what do you specialize in?
So my areas of expertise are disordered eating and body and weight concerns, as well as sports nutrition, but general wellness, prevention, and family feeding to develop healthy relationship with food and body for the whole body.
Family feeding. So you're going to teach me how to have conversations inside of my family about
all these things.
What's cool with food, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm hoping to start offering some 4-part workshop series that kind of talks in more depth about how to listen to your body and how to develop balanced meals and how to do grocery shopping.
Well, we will certainly have you on again soon because you and I have been in a conversation. You know what we do over at the Way Out in terms of a sort of holistic approach. You know, we invite outdoor activity and we take a look at a person's diet when they come in because we know that everything's attached. It's a perfect fit when you start doing those workshops. We want to support you in any way that we can because this is something that we want to give to our clients.
Yeah, that'd be
so
great.
Pay attention, folks. To upcoming workshops. We will make big announcements. We'll have you back on the show, and we'll support your workshops to offer to the Santa Clarita community.
And I also, as a board certified specialist in sports, I'm a consultant for the NBA G League, the South Bay Lakers, and do team talks for sport teams and athletic groups or running groups. So if anybody would be interested in having me
you and I got to talk about SOAR.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'd be happy to do that too, and information about scheduling presentations on my website as well.
All that's on the website. Man, it must feel good to give back to a community that you've grown up in. I know you're a local girl, Saugus, right?
Yes, class of 1991, Saugus High School.
Right, and it must feel good. You know, you and I were talking earlier, and this maybe it certainly is another show, but those of us that have grown up here locally and continue to try to do the work that we do out here and to point people in the right direction towards just a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. It must be very rewarding for you to be able to do that.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is a new year, new chapter in my career. Just left being in college health for the past 20 years, and now I'm venturing on my own.
Yeah, we didn't even get into that.
Yeah.
But right? College health and wellness for both UCLA and College of the Canyons.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. And that's like a tough crowd to work with because I'm not eating right when I'm 20 years old, right? I'm like a college student and just go.
There's a lot of challenges of being a college student.
I bet. But you and I have done some stuff over at the Health and Wellness Center together, and what wonderful opportunities over there. So it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. This was so much fun.